If you want to learn to communicate with your horse with subtle, refined weight aids, then this video is for you. So today you'll learn about how to balance your pelvis on the horse, and we're also going to do some exercises off the horse that will help you to become more aware of your seat bones and your pelvic position, and also how to use your seat bones. Because your pelvis, the mobility of your pelvis, and how you control your pelvis, and how you can control the weight on your seat bones can really make a huge difference in your riding. Okay, so very simply, you want to find the middle position for your pelvis. So you don't want your back to overarch like this. So now my pelvis is tilting forward, and you also don't want your pelvis tipping back like this. So now my lower back is rounding. So you want to find the middle position for your pelvis. And when your pelvis is in middle position, then your seat bones will be pointing straight down. And next, let's look at some anatomy. So here we have the pelvis. So you can see that it's like kind of like a ring. And here are the hip bones on both sides. Here is the sacrum. Here are the SI joints, so the sacroiliac joints on both sides. Here is the pubic symphysis, and here are your seat bones at the bottom. And of course, here is your hip joint on both sides. And if we look from the side, here would be the middle position. And here the pelvis would be tipping forward, and here the pelvis would be tipping back. So this is what you want to find. So then the seat bones are balanced. So next I'll demonstrate these to you also on the horse, and then we'll also do some exercises off the horse so you can really find that pelvic position and also become a little bit more aware of your seat bones.
So here I'm demonstrating the anterior pelvic tilt. So my pelvis is tilting forward, and in this position my seat bones are pointing backwards. And you can see how much my back is arching here, and I look very stiff. Now in the next clip you can see very clearly how the horse reacts. And you see now I start hollowing my back and tipping my pelvis forward, and I'll do this a couple of times again, and you see that the horse slows down because now I'm doing it again, and you see the horse slows down. He doesn't really know what I want, so that's why I'm patting him all the time, because he's a little bit confused. Now I'll be doing it again. Now I'm in neutral, and now I'm tipping my pelvis forward, and you can see that I immediately go very stiff. My shoulders become very stiff, and also my hand becomes very stiff. So here I'll show you in the canter. Now I'm tipping my pelvis forward again, and you can see that the horse drops down to trot. So he doesn't really know what I want, and I can't follow the horse from my hips and my pelvis anymore, and that's why he slows down to trot, because I get locked from my seat. Now I'll show you another typical mistake with the position of the pelvis, and that is the pelvis tipping back. So this is kind of what we call a chair seat. So we are kind of slouching back a little bit, and this also puts a lot of strain on the horse's back, because the rider is not carrying his or herself correctly. And it's also, if you want to do rising trot from this position, it's very, very difficult, because our leg is so much forward than our center of balance. Okay, and here I'm demonstrating the posterior pelvic tilt. So my pelvis is tilting backwards. And in this position, my seat bones are pointing forward. And you can really see how this puts my whole posture and balance out of alignment. So my leg slips forward and then my upper body is kind of slipping back. And you can imagine how much of my weight now just is going to go on the horse's back, and there's no real self carriage.
Now let's do some exercises to become aware of your pelvic position and also to find your seat bones. So you're going to need a firm chair, but it's okay to have something to soften it up a little bit because you're actually going to be sitting on your hands and it actually can hurt a little bit. So you're going to put your hands under your seat bones. So now we're going to start searching for our seat bones. And you also want to have your feet firmly on the floor. So I'm just going to sit this way so you can see. So first we're going to start experimenting with our pelvic position. First, tilt your pelvis forward and feel what happens. What happens to the weight on your seat bones? You might feel that your seat bones start to disappear and you don't feel them that much anymore. Now start tilting your pelvis back. There's a point where you feel your seat bones the most, and that would be the neutral position. But first, we're just going to tilt our pelvis back and see what happens now. So again, you're going to start to lose your seat bones a little bit the further back you go. And then start tilting your pelvis back forward again. And now try to find the point where you feel your seat bones the most. So that would be the neutral position. Okay, so now let's do a little exercise to mobilize your pelvis a little bit and maybe become even more aware of your seat bones. So now just sit on the chair. No need to sit on your hands. And start lifting your seat bones one at a time. And feel if one is easier to lift than the other. Good. And now keep one seat bone still and then start lifting and moving the other one front and back. Good. And then do the other one. And again, feel if there are any asymmetries. So if one is easier to move than the other. So this is definitely something you can do on the horse as well. Now let's do one more exercise. Again, sit on your hands so you can really feel the seat bones. Find that neutral position and feel if you have even weight on both your seat bones or if you feel one more than the other. And now just start experimenting, just slightly shifting your weight. So it's actually such a small movement that can make a huge difference. So you can definitely feel this in your hands. And you might not see that I'm doing much, but I'm shifting my weight all the time. And the horse can definitely also feel this very small weight shifts. Now let's do one more exercise. Slide one seat bone a little bit forward and sideways. So kind of a little bit diagonally forward and sideways. And again, feel if one is easier than the other. Because this is something you can actually use, for example, when you're turning the horse or when you are picking up the canter. I have been so fixated on the pelvis, and really the most important point of contact with your horse. So that's why your pelvic position can definitely make or break your riding. Of course, you don't want your pelvis to be tilted or rotated either. So that's definitely a subject for a new video. So there will be a lot more about the pelvis. And so you don't miss them, definitely subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also turn on the notifications, so then you will be notified when I upload a new video. And next week we will be talking about how to ask for the canter using just a subtle shift of weight. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And when I've uploaded, then I will put it right here, so then you can check it next. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye!